I'm Beth the Builder, and we're doing some more wood burning. And I've already done it. I'm already finished. But here, watch it. Okay, so I was thinking to chainsaw carve a thing, and then do wood burning stuff and cut some more cookies and whatnot, but my chainsaw is out of bar oil, and I don't like the wood I have, and I think my chain maybe needs to be sharpened slightly, maybe? I don't know. So a few things prevented me from chainsaw carving. So I finished up my owl that I did last week. I've mostly finished that up other than I need to put in eyeballs. I'm going to use marbles, which will be cool. So you guys will see that very, very shortly. And then I decided to just do a bunch of wood burning because I've been doing it more anyway and adding some stuff to my Etsy store with that I really like how it turned out. I did some rune chains, which are these cookies I cut in a chain, and they're protective like Nordic runes. Really fun. I like how they turned out. They're very, very cool. So I have those on my Etsy, and then I did a few more things that are just like, they're fun. I just like it. It's just fun to do. So we talked about Ouija boards a couple times, but this is just a fun, it's just fun. Kind of spooky Halloween vibes. This wood cracked just slightly. I think it's just from an imperfection in the log or whatever that it cracked that way, that it had some kind of injury or a fungus or something that was starting to creep into it. So it cracked there, but like, I kind of like it. Just kind of add some character to it. That's a pretty hefty piece of wood, so I mean, that's just this is just for me. It's just for fun. Who knows if I'll like really keep it around forever or whatever. And then I did some smaller ones. I've been doing some more stuff with shading because that is a more advanced wood burning thing. It's not really like the first thing you'd want to do when you're going to be jumping into wood burning. My chair is really creaky. It's very annoying. So I would, yeah, if you're going to start out wood burning, you don't need to jump into like being a master of shading and doing like Jesus Christ's face or something and blowing people's minds. Like that's like an unreasonable expectation. Just start with like something really simple, a little bit bigger. Don't do something really, really teeny tiny because it's just gonna be difficult to get detail. You're gonna get a lot of like wood burn out from where your pen is, from where your tip is. That's just what happens with really, really small, tight quarters. So something a little bit more, I would say medium, you know, sized. And something to be aware of, especially if you're going to be cutting cookies or doing anything with wood that you have scavenged, be aware that you're gonna need to sand the shit out of that stuff. The stuff I cut a bunch of them with just my miter saw, and those were like so smooth, very, very well, very, very nice cuts. The stuff with my chainsaw has a little bit more of a rough cut to it, just based on what a chainsaw is versus my miter saw, obviously, duh, they're different things. But so all these cookies and stuff like that, even this guy I cut with my chainsaw, have kind of more of a grain to them just from the cut. And anything like that then you're gonna be burning, those highs and lows are going to burn differently. So the highs are gonna burn harder and darker, and the stuff, the lower points are going to burn less. You're gonna have to like, you know, get your tip in there to burn that. So you wanna sand that stuff down. So I did sand this big piece a good amount with my belt sander outside, and then some of the little ones I did, like this one I did sand some. So it burned okay. But that's something to be aware of when you're cutting wood yourself for wood burning projects or looking at wood in the store to buy and wood burn, etc., whatever. Yeah, you either want to make sure you plan on sanding it really well or picking pieces that are already really, really, really smooth. And the same with knots. Like if you're picking wood in a store to wood burn, you kind of want to avoid a ton of knots or cracks because they're going to burn differently than the rest of it. So it's not a big deal if you are aware of that and you know how to manage it, but like knots will sometimes burn harder. You'll get more of a shaded out burn because of a knot, or you'll get like sap that will be released and have kind of a funny glossy look. Just something to be aware of if you're trying to make things to sell or whatever. You can like work with all that stuff. I've done, I think, cool things with knots that like just make them a part of it and it's fun and cool looking. Or you can avoid them by cutting them out of the thing you're going to do or whatever. Or shifting what you're burning on it to not be on that knot. So yeah, just stuff to be aware of because I'm doing it and then I'm gonna tell you guys about it because that's what this is about, I guess. I don't know. I've never watched a single video. Yeah, I've maybe seen a few things that have just popped up on like Pinterest or whatever based on probably knowing what I search and shit. Just saying, or like my purchases, because like I bought this on Amazon. I don't know, just saying, all that stuff gets tracked in case you didn't know. Anyway, this I just kind of like jumped into. I think it's pretty forgiving, and I've done plenty of things that I'm like, well, that was garbage. Like that didn't look like anything, and just messing around with it. So that's kind of what you have to do. And I really like wood burning. I think it's really, really like relaxing as a hobby. So I want to cut more big ones like this because the ones I cut from that sugar maple originally, that I just didn't like the grain of it because it's like gray and light, which is cool for that owl because I didn't cut it like this, obviously, because that's what I ended up doing with that piece. I ended up carving that big giant owl, and these I ended up bringing inside and they cracked hard. So this was just a practice one I kind of started on, and they like dried and just split so hard, which whatever. I didn't know anything about that piece of wood, that it was so wet still. But again, I just didn't like this. Like it's gray and light. Maybe I could sand some of that out, but it doesn't matter. So I have to scavenge some bigger pieces that are softer because this sugar maple was so hard, so crazy hard. So I'll scavenge some better logs and then cut those because I do like this size. It's a really good size, and cut some more of those. I just don't have anything currently like that. I just am out. I have a huge one. I don't even know why I brought it home because it's so gigantic. well, I don't know what I was thinking. And the same with this, like this is one I cut and I didn't like the inside and it felt pretty wet to me, honestly. It still kind of does. And it also split like a ton. So I only had a few of these that I cut because I just didn't like how dark it was. I think this is, so I didn't really end up doing anything with those. But I have several other pieces I've cut a bunch of cookies from, and I really like how they turned out. They're really fun, and they're cheap, they're free. It's all free wood that I'm now wood burning and doing some really fun stuff with. So this is just a piece of oak, I believe. And again, it's super hard. So yeah, you just kind of have to like learn some things as you go, learn about your machine. So my machine is not a super expensive one. They can get like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So mine's not fancy, but it does the job. The cheapest thing about it is these dumb pens. They're like all plastic. All plastic. I cannot believe it. So I've melted one of these pens because my machine goes all the way up to like 117 volts. So this is a voltage indicator here. It's so crazy hot. I don't think I've ever burned over like 60 something on here. And even that, like the tips will start to like glow bright orange red, and it's so hot. It's gonna like start like just like you're gonna get these huge indentations in what you're burning. It's not efficient. I don't know why it goes up that hot, because that's how I melted one of these pens and I was pissed. And like this is also the way to go, is to get the one with the 2 pen things, so you can have 2 pens going. So you can switch from one to the other. If one gets too hot, you can switch over, or like I'll have 2 different tips I'm using, and then I'll switch from one to the other, like a straight one and then a curved one, or one that I'm like using, like the shading tips are different. I'll put a picture in. They're like flattened so you can shade, but I don't know why this goes up so friggin' hot. It is ridiculous. So do not burn that hot. You will melt these cheap ass pens because they're cheap. And if you're gonna burn any hotter than 65, 70 on here, like you have to do it in very, very short increments of time. You can't leave it on there for 20 minutes or something, versus like I usually burn about like 40-ish, and I can do that for, I can do that for 20 minutes and it's not a big deal. And then if it does seem to get too hot, because you'll feel it in the pen itself, and then as well as like the fucking wire cord will start to get hot. So I'm imagine the more expensive ones probably have nicer pens, just in general are probably just nicer. So if you have a machine like that, I mean, all power to you. Good job, good on ya. But to start out, yeah, this was maybe between 40 and 60, maybe, yeah, $50 or $60, I think. So the machine, I think, is fine. I think it's just the pens, because the machine is very, very simple. It's a simple thing. The pens, cheap as fuck. But I have 4 pens, I think. Pretty sure. So one that's melted. I kind of fixed it, but so what I did was I opened up this top and I cut off a piece of the cord that was melted, and then I stripped the wire and connected them back to these copper pins that then your tip goes into and connects to these little rods, the whole thing. Anyway, and that's how it heats up, etc. So do not burn this too freaking hot, especially if you have a cheap one. Just be careful, don't be a dummy. I now run a fan all the time while I'm doing it, which is advised, but I didn't do that early on, and it would just be like, it would like hurt your eyes and like just be smoky. So it's not a ton of smoke, obviously, unless you're starting a fire. Be careful. I've already talked about these tips being the way to go versus the solid point tips. I don't like those. Fuck that noise. But these wire tips, I like that. The machine for that, the wire tip burning better. And then you can just bend your own. If you get the right gauge of wire, you can just make all your own tips. And some of them are like, they're so simple. Like this guy, or well, heck. Okay, so like these two, this is just like a little, it's so simple. This one's just a little rounded. They're very, very simple. So if you have a bunch of wire that's the right gauge, you can just bend your own. I've already added several other wood burning things to my Etsy shop. If you care about that, you can check that out. I will be doing some spooky things. I have some stuff planned for Halloween, or at least that season, the autumn equinox, etc. The harvest moon, all that stuff. Some fun things that I have that I think will be cool. So I have to scavenge some more wood, and then we'll be doing that. And I'll get more bar oil, because don't chainsaw carve without it, and don't run your chainsaw without it. I had a little bit left, and I just didn't get very far, and I was like, well, so, yeah, this is a pretty simple video. I have some tips about wood burning because I've done it a decent amount, but I am aware this isn't the most, like, exciting thing. Be safe when you're wood burning. Don't burn yourself. I've probably burned myself before. It just happens. It's not that big of a deal if you're not a baby. Thank you to anybody who has subscribed to my Patreon, anyone who is looking at, even if you've gone and looked at my Etsy store, thank you. If you've bought stuff, extra thank you. You're great. But I will keep carving, keep wood burning, get ready for fall, spooky season. I'm already ready. I'm not like a crazy fall Halloween person. Like, you know, there's some like girls, women who are like all in on hashtag sweater weather and fall season and fucking furry boots. I like fall, but I kind of like every season. My favorite being winter. I like winter the most. So I'll be doing a fun carving for winter. I think I have something planned. We'll see if it works out, but I think I have something fun planned for that. But I'm definitely not like all in on Halloween or whatever. I loved it. You guys don't care. Anyway, I'm not like a huge like Halloween person, but I thought I would do some fun Halloween inspired things because I talked about Ouija boards and ghosts and witchcraft, you know, so it feels applicable, I guess. Keep watching. You guys are great. I really appreciate you. Like, all of your encouragement with my chainsaw carving journey is really, really appreciated by me. I really appreciate it. It's really, really helpful. It makes me feel inspired to keep doing it and keep trying. So, thank you. But yeah, I'll shut the fuck up now. Stop rambling about whatever. And I'll be doing a video next week, and thanks for watching.